Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 30 of season 2 of Gunners and Blues. My name is Sean Morgan. I am joined by Andrew Gump. It is our Arsenal-centric episode for the end of this week, and it has been a pretty decent week for me, I think. Can't complain too much. I know Arsenal's not in Europe, so I don't have to deal. You don't have to deal with any heartbreak, right? That's I guess one of the positive things about not having European football is that I only run the risk of being sad one time during the week, as opposed to having back-to-back heartbreaks. Back-to-back 1-0 losses. It's rough.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. Thank you. This is the Arsenal episode, but thank you.
Hey, I gotta take the opportunities where they come. Well, as this is the Arsenal-centric episode, let me go ahead and run down what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, going to preview the Brighton match, which is what we do for our second episode each week. I do want to talk a little bit about the call-up for Bukayo Saka and Aaron Ramsdale to the England squad. Talk about the Gareth Southgate comments on Emile Smith-Rowe and when he might actually see a call-up. And I do have an interesting kind of tactical discussion I want to have around the opportunity with Xhaka's injury and the emergence of Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe in the same lineup, kind of as we've been talking about this season. What that might give Arteta some flexibility in doing. And then maybe Arteta winning Manager of the Month and see if he gets cursed as well. But let's go ahead and talk about the England call-up. So Bukayo Saka gets yet another call-up. Aaron Ramsdale manages to break into the England squad on the up and up, with him winning the starting job over Leno and having basically some fantastic performances, including a great performance against Spurs. So I do have a question for you, and realistically speaking, like I said, Aaron Ramsdale is making great strides, but this is Jordan Pickford's job to lose. So what do you see Ramsdale needing to do to possibly secure that, maybe within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case is? What does he need to do in your eyes?
Well, like I said, it's really not going to be based too much on Ramsdale's merits. He's shown a lot since he's been at Arsenal. But you really have to look at England's last results in major tournaments. They've hit a semifinal and a final. And it's really difficult to drop a keeper that's performed so well for you unless they have, some incredible drop in form, which he hasn't really shown for England, or an injury. So, like I said, it's not too much based around Ramsdale's merits. It's more based around kind of the misfortune of Jordan Pickford. And, I'm sure there's plenty of Scousers, the red side of the Scouse land anyway, that would love to see the misfortune of Jordan Pickford. But,
his arm somehow get even shorter.
Or maybe he really gets the red card. Maybe England will play. No, I'm not going into that one. Not going into that one. We're not going to.
Decides to get that scissor kick going.
Yeah, but it's like I said, he has shown a lot of really good qualities, but it is difficult. It's very different playing for a club that he obviously loves, like Arsenal, with a bunch of young players. It's a very young, very, very young squad. You talked about that last week. Going into an England team that has a lot of senior players, a lot of players that maybe would not take so kindly to him speaking sternly to them about doing the right things on the pitch, or what he considers the right thing. Like I've said multiple times, like I've talked to you off air. It'd be very difficult for him to yell at Harry Maguire and Kyle Walker in the exact same way that he would, maybe speak to Tomiyasu, Ben White, players closer to his age. There's just that, age hierarchy that you're looking at. So, like I said, it's more down to the misfortune of Pickford rather than the merits of Ramsdale. And like we said, we also haven't seen Ramsdale perform against maybe the top clubs. No one's, Arsenal fans would be happy to hear that Tottenham are basically not a top club at this point in time, not under Nuno anyway. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully he gets some chances, maybe in some friendlies or against the lower sides, and he really impresses. But we'll see.
That would be what I'd like to see. I mean, really, I think one of the things, and you see, in Southgate's team selection, he's bringing in like Connor Cody. So obviously, you're kind of right. Sometimes it's really not on the merit of your current performance. Bringing Ramsdale in will allow him to kind of gel with a lot of these players and build up that familiarity in training with them and interacting with them and kind of getting that feel, that vibe, which is crucial for a keeper, especially being able to feel comfortable with your defenders, being confident in your communication and your ability to be heard, as well as listen. It's a team game, and especially with the back line and with the keeper, you have to be in sync. So I'm hoping that this is just a good opportunity for him. Speaking of opportunities, like I said, Southgate did come out and say that Emile Smith-Rowe is on the radar. It is a he has been playing lights out for us, but it is such a crowded position for England. I wonder what it is that he would have to do to basically get a call up at this point. I feel like we would need to see, it also I think also hinges a lot on where he plays, right? Because we're seeing, with Odegaard in the lineup, this push for Emile Smith-Rowe coming in now, on the left wing, which isn't really how where he's been playing for us, say last season and then, partially this season. This is kind of a recent thing, and I imagine this is going to be a continued trend. So I feel like it's positive to see that Southgate is like, hey, yeah, we've got our eye on him. We're, he's on the radar. He's being looked at, right? It's just kind of very neutral terms, but I do feel like there should be an expectation, if Emile Smith-Rowe continues to perform as he is, that he's going to get an England call-up this season. I really feel like it's in the cards. But we'll see how things go from there. But I did want to actually seg into, with that mention of Emile Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, coming in the same starting 11 consistently. Something we had talked about leading into Odegaard coming in, and then now after this win streak has started to happen, and we're seeing both of them in the lineup with Odegaard at the 10, Emile Smith-Rowe coming in on the left wing, with Xhaka out. This does give Arteta, I think, an interesting prospect in having Partey as the sole pivot, and then seeing Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe coming in as dual 10s, which would allow us to have Saka playing on the right, Pepe coming in, or Martinelli coming in, on the left, Aubameyang playing centrally, or even though it hasn't been as successful, we could see Aubameyang coming in on the left, Lacazette in the same lineup coming in at center forward if we feel like we are needing to be aggressive against a very defensive-minded team. Partey is excellent at everything except for finding the back of the net. He's usually able to find the upper deck of the stands, but do you think realistically that, looking at Arsenal's upcoming fixtures, which we talked about earlier this week, at Brighton, Palace, Villa, at Leicester, and Watford, do you think with Xhaka's injury that we possibly see a 4-1-4-1, something where, Partey is that sole pivot and we do see the dual 10s?
No.
You don't think we... Simple answer, no.
No, but to expound on that, no. First and foremost, I've never really seen Partey, especially in his time at Atletico, as a sole 6. It takes such a toll on your body, and he has a really poor injury record with Arsenal.
Now he does, yeah.
With Arsenal, at Arsenal. But on top of that, there is so much put on a sole 6. If you look at it, there's basically one team that plays 4-1-4-1 in England, and they're not doing very well.
No, they're 18th.
Yeah. So we're talking about Leeds, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, it is one of those places on the pitch. You need that player to be at his performing optimally, and you need basically for no one to figure out that you can basically, I mean, there's so much space. When a 4-1-4-1 happens, there's so much space that lone pivot has to cover. I just would never feel confident or comfortable with maybe anyone with the exception of like Kante playing in that role. I mean, like I said, if you look at Leeds, they never look sound defensively. I just don't feel like Arteta is the type of manager who's like, you know what? I'm keeping clean sheets on a good run. Let's just go with a soul pivot here. Let's go with a soul pivot here. See if I can kill all that hope. See if we can revert the process. Let everyone back down. I don't know. For me, it's a cool idea. It's one of those things that as supporters, you play these ideas and you get very excited about having all these attacking players on the pitch. I mean, Chelsea fans do it all the time. But when you actually get to the nitty gritty, when you put it out on the pitch, it is fucking horrifying.
Well, so my thought here, right? My thought here is that you would possibly see, even though, Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe would play as dual 10s, you would likely see Odegaard, playing a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's playing as a 10 anyway. You kind of see that, right? There are instances where the space that Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka occupy on the wing, Odegaard will, like I said, sometimes be much deeper, and especially, like you said, you'll see Emile Smith-Rowe kind of break out and come a little more centrally as like that rotation happens. So I don't know if it would be, Partey all alone on an island, and I do feel a lot more confident in our back four than I do, especially like defensively. Tomiyasu, like kind of barreling up. I feel like he's able to, drift centrally a little bit more as well, and then we could see, kind of this shifting. I don't know. I could see it potentially happening. Maybe against a team like Palace or Watford, where we're expected to dominate possession, and then maybe we want to make sure that we're getting enough chances during the game. I could see something kind of like that. It may not be like a pure 4-1-4-1, but there may be times where it definitely feels like it, depending on how far advanced up we see Emile Smith-Rowe and Odegaard kind of in that spot. It'd be one of those things where you see the formation and you think that Odegaard is kind of playing in that Xhaka role, but in reality, he's going to be much more, further up the pitch than you would expect, Xhaka to be kind of in that 4-2-3-1.
Well, there's also just one little thing I wanted to add. You have to look at the players that you talked about bringing in, right? None of them are in form, right? Martinelli basically never gets a sniff doesn't get many sniffs under Arteta. Pepe hasn't been great. It hasn't been terrible. And when you're looking at the other pivot, Lokonga, I think he's been good every time he's shown. So you also look at it, it's just, there's a hierarchy of how those players are performing. I feel like Lokonga, Partey pairing to at least to start a game. Like maybe if you we've had plenty of possession, we're not making enough chances. Then maybe you switch to a 4-1-4-1. But I couldn't see Arteta starting.
I think it's fair. I wouldn't expect to see it against Brighton, but let's say that we struggle for creating chances against Brighton. Then I could maybe see, hey, against Palace, we need to make sure that we're actually generating shots, so we're not floundering. But let's go ahead and actually talk a little bit about the upcoming Brighton match. So for me, the lineup is, I think, probably one of the easier ones for me to predict this season with Xhaka out. I think it's the exact same lineup that we saw against Spurs, except we see Lokonga coming in for the injured Xhaka, who's out, 4 to 6 weeks. He will be back just in time for, El Neni and Partey's departure for the unfortunately timed AFCON. But, thankfully, he'll be back. Hopefully, he'll be able to get back up to form pretty quickly. But I really don't expect anything else. I mean, I would think against either, Palace, probably against Palace, we could see Partey get a bit of a spell. Or, depending on how well this game is going, we could see Ainsley Maitland-Niles coming in just to make sure we're putting the appropriate amount of wear on Partey's legs. I would expect, honestly, us to see very similar substitutions to, the players that we tend to see subbed out. We could see Tierney come off for, Tavares just to keep, Tierney's legs fresh. We could, if we're comfortably winning, we could see like an Emil Smith-Rowe come off, or Odegaard come off for Elneny, or Ainsley Maitland-Niles, depending on whether or not we want to give Partey a full 90. Again, the benefit of not being in Europe, and the upcoming international break is that we can kind of play around with stuff and make sure that we're giving people the appropriate spells when they need it, not running any sort of injury risk. And honestly, Brighton is they're not the healthiest team right now.
No.
So when I looked it up, it looks like they're going to very likely be without Basuma, which is, I think, great for us, obviously.
Yes.
No Adam Webster, Steven Alzate, Welbeck's probably out. I mean,
Oh no.
I know, right? Well, hey, I mean, it's always one of those things when you go up against a club that you were with for a while. There's always some emotions riding on it. Even though it's been a minute since Welbeck played for us, it's still it's still one of those things. I think it would probably be a little bit more meaningful if it was like at the Emirates, but. Anyway, Brighton's been overperforming against XG, which is actually interesting considering last season was the complete opposite. I feel like a lot of their wins, especially like them kind of clawing back against Palace at the very last minute, Brighton feels like they are definitely overperforming, and I feel as though we're running into them at the right time, where confidence for us is at an all-time high for the season. And, we're only minus one player in regards to personnel selection. So when it comes to picking the right players for the squad, like I said, I don't see why Arteta would want to shift from what very much worked against Spurs. Because, you can argue, hey, Spurs have been dire for, like the entire month of September and have started to fall off. Personnel-wise, they are arguably on paper, better than Brighton, but they're not necessarily playing better, but they are considered better.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially like I hate Maupay, and I really can't wait until like we match up against him again, and I'm hoping that we shut. By the way, Brighton in the last 8 matches have not been able to keep a clean sheet against us, so good feelings about that. Hopefully, number 9's coming along. I actually think we get a 2-0 win. I think we managed to keep them out of the back of the net. And it's really unfortunate that the international break's coming up because I think it's a terrible time for us. It's a terrible time for the break to come.
It's always that way. It's always that way.
So big time momentum killer. Again, you just got to hope that, players remain, healthy during the break and, things. I really think that this is our match to lose. I could see a 1-0, but I do think we keep them, especially with our solidified back four. I think we keep them out of the back of the net. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I played around with a 1-1 in my head, but I'm actually going to go with a 1-0 as well. Brighton have looked good defensively, but let's be honest, against Crystal Palace, they were exceedingly lucky not to lose, right? It just a little fluke at the very end of the game, a little lapse of judgment from the goalkeeper, bad clearance. So they haven't looked good attacking-wise. If they are 100% without Yves Bissouma, I think it's like very, very low percentage he's ready. They don't look like the same team. They legitimately don't look like the same team without Yves Bissouma. Yeah, I see a 1-0 win to Arsenal. I don't think you're going to get 2 just because I think Brighton have been pretty solid defensively. And I don't feel like your attack has set the world on fire. Like I said, when you're going against someone like Eric Dyer and he hasn't made a tackle all season, you're going to look better in the first half. Lewis Dunk, probably not that bad. Also, there's going to be a little vitriol. You don't know if that plays into Ben White's head at all, going back to the Amex. I would doubt it, right? I would doubt it, but you never know. But I'm going 1-0.
I think it's
1-0.
I think it's fair. Like I said, I kind of veered back and forth between 1 or 2. I think that we are seeing Aubameyang 5 goals, 5 matches. Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka playing in positions that I think have benefited them, and Odegaard has hit his stride. So I feel like the scoring will continue. I actually 1 goal I think from open play, and then maybe like a penalty or something. Dunk always has one of those in him. So maybe a really poorly timed challenge. You know what? I'm going to predict a Brighton red card.
There you go. I like it.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Why not? Why
Dunk
not?
gets set off 66th minute. Right. Really bad tackle. Just I'm calling it.
I like the 66th minute.
66 minute. Gotta call
Who's
it.
number 6 on Arsenal? Do you know? Who's number 6 on Arsenal?
Oh man,
you know?
I don't know actually. Hang on. Gotta put me on the spot here. Squad numbers. Let's take a gander, shall we? Why am I number 6? Gabriel.
Okay, well, it's gonna be red card against Gabriel. I don't know if they're gonna get pissed off with the box.
Yeah, there we go. An ill-timed
dunk will.
Yeah, an ill-timed elbow to the face.
Yep, there we go.
All right, well that's it for us for the this end of the week Arsenal episode. I do want to, as always, thank Particle Docs for our great intro and outro tunes. And I would encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to please check us out on all of our various social media platforms. Everything's found on our link tree, linktr.ee/gunnersblues. And we will, rather than releasing them, in back-to-back days, we have kind of switched to releasing the Arsenal and Chelsea episodes concurrently. So if you're listening to this, then you'll probably also see the Chelsea episode in the next one, if you care to listen to it as well. On behalf of Andrew, my name is Sean. We are Gunners and Blues. We are signing out. We will be back with you either on the Chelsea episode, or if you're an Arsenal guy, then we will be back with you next week. Have a good one.
See you guys.